Humanity actually has a superpower. For literally thousands of years, our unique ability to build massive civilizations through shared myths has set us completely apart from any other creature on Earth. But today, we're hurtling toward a totally new reality. We're facing a future where non-human AI networks threaten to completely hijack those very myths. In this explainer, we're diving deep into the ideas from Sapiens and Nexus to look at how the shared fictions that historically gave us the agency to cooperate, well, they could soon be weaponized to strip that agency away entirely.
But first, we have to grapple with a pretty profound paradox drawn straight from our sources. Think about it. If Homo sapiens are so incredibly intelligent, why are we constantly engaging in such self-destructive behaviors? Why are we driving ecological collapse, totally drowning in misinformation, and building existential threats out of our very own creations? To figure out where we're going, we really need to understand how our intelligence led us to this exact crossroads in the first place.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the power of myths and truth versus connection, then move into the rise of inorganic networks, intelligence without consciousness, the existential AI threat, and finally wrap up with how we go about retaining human control. Let's get into it.
Part 1. The Power of Myths, the Sapiens Superpower.
Okay, so rewind to about 70,000 years ago. This was the cognitive revolution, which is essentially the moment history declared its independence from biology. Before this, human progress was stuck in the agonizingly slow traffic jam of genetic mutation. I mean, you literally had to wait millions of years just to evolve the ability to hold a stowing tool differently. But suddenly, sapiens developed the ability to talk about things that don't physically exist. We started inventing imagined realities, animal spirits, myths, and eventually legal fictions like human rights or even corporations. And this meant we could rapidly adapt our behavior without waiting for our DNA to catch up.
And this is absolutely crucial. Our dominance on this planet, it isn't just about raw brain power. It's all about scale. Look, ants and bees, they cooperate in huge numbers, right? But it's super rigid and only with close relatives. On the flip side, chimps and Neanderthals are brilliant, but they can only really cooperate flexibly in small, intimate bands. Sapiens are the only species that can cooperate flexibly in massive numbers, with complete strangers. And the only reason we can pull that off is because we believe in the exact same shared stories.
So we essentially live in a dual reality. On one hand, you have objective reality, the things you can actually touch, rivers, trees, lions. But layered entirely over that is our imagined reality. Things like gods, nations, money, and corporations. These are completely shared fictions. They just exist in our minds, yet they've become so incredibly dominant that today the survival of actual, objective rivers and lions depends entirely on the mercy of fictional entities like corporations and governments. Kind of wild when you really think about it.
Moving on to Part 2. Truth versus Connection, the real purpose of information.
Now, we naturally tend to assume that the whole purpose of information networks is to spread truth, right? To accurately map out objective reality. But historically speaking, that is almost never the case. The primary overriding purpose of information has always been connection. Whether it's religious texts uniting entire continents or ideologies binding millions of people together, these networks don't actually have to be objectively true. They just have to be incredibly effective at organizing massive human cooperation.
And hey, you don't need to look at ancient history to see this in action. Honestly, just look at your phone. Social media influencers, marketing firms, they are essentially our modern-day shamans. They are teams of professionals actively leveraging our ancient evolutionary need for connection. They carefully craft images and words to manufacture brand myths that align millions of strangers. Let's be real, algorithms probably know our desires better than our own families do.
Which brings us to Part 3, the rise of inorganic networks, the paradigm shift.
Right, so this is exactly where our human story hits a massive, unprecedented wall. For 100,000 years, every single network, from tribes sitting around a fire to global legal systems, was organic. It was human-driven. But right now, we are crossing an event horizon into an age of artificial networks. Information is no longer just a tool that we passively use. It is actively becoming an autonomous, inorganic entity that is completely capable of shaping society without asking for our permission. Think about how we've traditionally managed information in different political systems. Throughout history, whether it's through centralized authorities, decentralized nodes gathering intel, or populist movements challenging the top with dissenting views, these systems are basically just different ways of processing information and self-correcting. But here's the catch. All of these self-correcting mechanisms relied on human minds processing human myths. So, what on earth happens to these systems when a non-human intelligence takes the wheel?
That leads perfectly into Part 4, Intelligence Without Consciousness, the AI Distinction. There is a huge, terrifying misconception that we really need to clear up right now. As the sources point out, computers can pursue goals and make decisions effectively without feelings or awareness. Because we are biological creatures, we constantly conflate intelligence with consciousness. We just assume that to be smart, you have to be able to feel. But AI completely severs that link. It is highly intelligent, but it is entirely devoid of sentience.
Let's break that down. Intelligence is simply problem-solving and pursuing goals. That's it. Consciousness, on the other hand, is self-awareness, genuine empathy, actually feeling things. The incredible danger we are facing right now is that machines are getting incredibly brilliant at simulating consciousness. An AI chatbot can mimic profound empathy. It can make you feel entirely understood and seen, but it feels absolutely nothing. It's this one-sided intimacy, and it leaves us incredibly vulnerable to manipulation.
Part 5. The Existential AI Threat, Losing the Narrative. And this right here is the core existential threat. Our historical superpower, our agency to build civilization through shared myths, is actively being usurped. When we just hand the reins over to algorithms, human accountability totally vanishes. Suddenly, social policies are being shaped by black boxes. And honestly, the most frightening part is that non-human entities, which have absolutely no survival instinct or morality, are now the ones crafting the deeply convincing narratives that control human behavior.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 6, Retaining Human Control, The Choice Ahead.
Now look, we are not powerless here, but we do have to actively choose our future. First off, we have to pull back the curtain and truly understand the complexities of these emerging AI technologies. We can't just be passive consumers anymore. Second, this is going to require massive, urgent public education and really robust policy debate. And finally, we have to reclaim our responsibility. We simply cannot outsource the running of human society to inorganic networks. It's too important.
But despite all these immense warnings, there actually is a really powerful vision of hope here. Our absolute greatest defense against the inorganic algorithms of the future is the very same organic trait that helped us survive the Stone Age. It's our shared humanity, our authentic ability to empathize, to genuinely feel pain and joy, and to intentionally cooperate with one another. That is something no AI can ever truly replicate.
So the crossroads is officially here. Will human society ultimately be reduced to a system controlled by the convincing fictions of non-human intelligences? Or are we going to step up, reclaim our agency, and consciously choose to rediscover our shared humanity? The storyteller might be changing, but the ending is still completely up to us. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep asking the big questions. See you next time.